welcome to today's edition to the Coal Seam. I'm Chris Hamilton with the West Virginia Coal Association, and today with the West Virginia Coal Forum, and we're just so pleased to have you join us for this segment of the program. We're here in Logan County at Logan County High School, which will serve as our venue today for today's Coal Seam, which will focus on and actually include a historic moment whereby Governor Earl Ray Tomblin will sign House Bill 4346, which is intended to protect state mining jobs, our state's energy industries, against the EPA and President Obama's climate rules, which will soon be released for public comment later this spring, early this summer. The rules potentially will cripple the state's economy and cause additional loss of mining jobs, especially here in southern West Virginia, as a result of the forced closure of additional coal-fired power units. And as we know, especially this region of the state, has already experienced several thousand mining jobs, a couple hundred additional jobs that are within the indirect category, and so Governor Tomblin and the other elected officials in this area are doing everything imaginable to try to protect against additional losses. We're going to be inside the auditorium and field house where the student body is going to witness Governor Tomblin signing House Bill 4346.
Welcome to today's Coal Forum and public meeting. I'm Chris Hamilton with the West Virginia Coal Forum and the West Virginia Coal Association, and on behalf of Fred Tucker with the United Mine Workers, who's co-chairman of the West Virginia Coal Forum, allow me to welcome you to our program.
Nearly every student, if not every student, who is here today can proudly tell of their family's rich heritage, rooted in and around coal.
Negative impacts to our local, to Logan counties, and to our state economies. In fact, it's been said repeatedly that no state is affected quite the same as West Virginia's because of our expansive coal industry and coal jobs right here in the Mountain State.
When the governor appointed me to be a senator, I had already spent decades in this county, a county that produces coal. Now we're in tourism. And thanks to the county commission, we're diversifying our economy.
The people of Logan, Boone, Wyoming votes for me. So I will fight for coal to the end.
Also be used to fuel and provide low-cost energy so that they can enjoy the same quality of life that we become accustomed to right here.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. It's National Teacher Appreciation Day. Now, these are the people who are here every day, making sure that you get the education that you need to be successful Logan Countyans, West Virginia. Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
I hope we haven't waited too long to educate our up-and-coming young kids that'll be some of them graduating, going into college, going into the workforce and everything else. Some of them don't understand what they're facing. They see their uncle or mom or their dad or somebody laid off from the coal mines, but I think if we educate America to the fact that we're sitting on all this energy, we need to find an adequate way, a qualified way, a certified way, an environmentally sound way to produce jobs and make America the best country in the world like it's supposed to be and needs to be and should be. I think it's where we fell a little bit short. And I think forums like this today, I could see in the face of those kids when I was talking about their jobs in the future, that would give them an opportunity to make an $80,000, $100,000 a year job. I could see an interest. And I think it's important that we have these educational forums to where people in America need to know that they deserve the opportunity and the right to wake up on a Monday morning and have a job.
You grew up around here, a graduate of Logan County High School. Do you think some of that coal heritage has slipped away?
I think some of it slipped away because of numerous things. When you have workforce where it used to take, 3, 4, 5 times as many men to do what they do now because of mechanism. But that's happened in all industries. I mean, you look at the airline industry, they get bigger, better, more intelligent, more efficient, the auto industry and everybody else. But I think your heritage does slip when there's less people involved. But however, with production levels, if we could get them where they need to be, you'd have so many coal-related jobs that the industry would be thriving and well, and everybody'd have some input.
Unlike the airline industry, you can't charge for extra baggage going into the overhead bin and that sort of thing. The coal industry is a little strapped in that charging area and that. But, right now, the Obama administration, they've got their sights set straight at the coal industry. How has the Obama administration impacted the coal industry across the state and especially here in Logan County?
Well, I think the coal industry has suffered drastically in the Appalachian region. As I said earlier, they're not having any problem mining coal in Wyoming, Illinois, some of the other parts of our country. Record production in some areas. But for some reason, the Appalachian region is the most looked at, regulated quite differently in the other parts, and that's what we say is the fairness of it's not there. We want to know why that there's different rules and regulations, easier to get a permit in some areas than it is here. That puts us in a position when you have to spend more time, more money to get a qualified permit. It used to be you get a permit probably years ago, $7,500, $100,000. $2 million sometimes now to get a permit put together. Even one of the mines in my area that went through a 10-year process of getting a qualified permit approved by the EPA, then later taken off as a veto. I don't get that. We met every rule and regulation known to man, but for some reason the Appalachian region is being picked on.
House Bill 4346 was signed today in a ceremony with Governor Tomlin. How is that going to benefit the industry?
Well, I think what it does, it tells the EPA and everybody else that we know what we need to do on air quality of CO2 emissions. It puts us in a position to compete as far as what we're doing. But I think more than anything, it's telling everybody else that we know what we're doing in West Virginia with the standards and rules, and we're going to put a compliance level out there that we can live with, and we're going to be more proactive than reactive. So I just think it sends a message to the industry and everything that West Virginia is stepping up to the plate and putting herself in a position to negotiate the fairness of what we do.
One final question for you, Art. The coal severance tax. Obviously here in this region, it is understood and well respected. But how about the folks in the Eastern Panhandle and the Northern Panhandle and even in Charleston? Do you think John Q. Public really understands the benefit of that severance tax?
You know, some of them I think do and some of them don't, and being a senator and spending time with every part of the state is represented in the state senate. There's 17 districts, 34 of us represent the state. And I take pride in the fact, because I tell them, we want some of your gas tax later, but everybody gets coal tax. The producing counties get 75%, the additional 25% is distributed from non-producing areas. And I can tell you right now, some of these small municipalities in the state simply couldn't make it without that coal revenue. So I think people are starting to see the impact when they don't get those coal checks compared to when they do. And I know my county here, their last coal check was down quite a bit, and that's due for obvious reasons: production levels and the value of what they get out of the coal. So it makes a difference. Trust me, it does.
This is not a problem or a situation that started yesterday. What has this, especially the Obama administration's attack on coal, meant to the businesses here, especially in southern West Virginia?
For businesses in southern West Virginia, the coal industry is their livelihood, certainly, and it employs their people, which creates businesses, whether that's small businesses or larger businesses. So it's just, it is so important to our livelihood and for people to, in their existence, in their everyday households, that coal is just a resource that brings employment to this area, and it's a necessity for us.
Jim, you're probably going to say about the same thing, but you work in the industry related to it. Just how personal has it become for you?
Well, you know, I was the son of a coal miner, and I grew up here in Logan County, and went away from here to work and was fortunate enough to come back here. I work for one of the largest consumer goods companies in the country, and I choose to live in Logan County. My wife's a school teacher here, and I have 2 children in Logan County schools. But without the coal industry, me and my family can't afford to live here and have a prosperous life. I can live anywhere in southern West Virginia I wish to live, but I live in Logan County. But without these jobs, I have to live somewhere else. Without the coal-related jobs, and it is a coal-related job, because as we were discussing earlier, the economy depends on coal. And if we don't have people living here working in the coal industry, they're not paying taxes, they're not supporting our school system, our infrastructure. The coal industry itself pays about $70 million a year in property taxes in West Virginia. Well, Logan County is the recipient of a large part of that, obviously. So without coal and coal-related jobs, we can't live here, and that impacts our business. And the Chamber of Commerce recognizes that, and that again is why we are supporters of coal and the coal industry in this forum today.
Back to you now. What are businesses doing to try to cope when they're seeing 100 people laid off today, 200 tomorrow, 50 the next day? Their backs are against the wall.
The backs are against the wall. You find some folks have begun to think about what else can I do, and just whether that's looking toward tourism to produce some jobs there. Certainly the mountains and the regions is a beautiful scenery and natural scenery. And so again, folks are just trying to think, how do we diversify? If we're going to be laid off, or if we don't have those coal mining jobs, that again is a necessity, what can we do to diversify to stay here within this county?
Now, you're president of the chamber, but you work for PepsiCo, or Pepco. Large businesses like that, when will they just say, we've had enough?
Well, you know, that's difficult to answer, but what I will say is trying to somewhat answer that by answering the question you asked Sabrina before, is what happens is when these coal jobs leave and the economy changes in this area, as it continues to do, under some regulations that is my belief impossible to live up to. I don't want to use the trickle down thing, but it does. It's a snowball effect. So what employers are doing in this area is they're cutting back, and whether that be the number of people that they need because the economy is affected and impacted so greatly, whether it's part-time jobs or full-time jobs, whether it's closing businesses as we've seen in the area. We've been fortunate that folks have looked to diversify. They have looked at other things that they can do within the economy, but it is somewhat limited because the less people you have living here, the less money that you have in our economy, the less opportunities there are to employ other people. So people tend to either relocate or end up making that choice not to work. And that's unfortunate for the area, and it's scary.
It helps to acquaint people with how significant coal is to both the state of West Virginia, which I think most of us know very well, but also to look at it, how significant it is to the rest of the country. I mean, West Virginians typically don't appreciate how significant we are as an energy player to the other states, principally to the east of us.
How do we enlighten them of that? I mean, obviously you were speaking to industry officials today. How can you make sure that John Q. Public understands what's happening?
Sure. I do these presentations quite often. I'm out there. I try to get people to appreciate the role of coal in our state economy and our national economy. So it is happening one step at a time.
Jeff, will the U.S. significantly decrease global CO2 emissions through efforts to curb coal use? Is coal the biggest contributor to the greenhouse gas emissions in the U.S.? Your thoughts on that?
No, I mean, actually, petroleum is a more significant contributor to greenhouse gases than coal.
Why? It seems to be a misnomer out there, a misrepresentation. Again, how do we correct that misnomer?
Sure. I would assume that it's the administration in Washington feels it's easier to go after the coal industry than it is to go after the motoring public. And that's unfortunately, that is probably the long and short of it.
At the end of the day, more concerned about votes than jobs?
Quite possibly, yes.
With the cold winter we just came out of, many have questioned the reliability of the electric grid. First off, explain what the electric grid is for everybody, and what is the impact of removing coal-fired power plants from the grid?
The electric grid is all the power lines and all the power plants and all the distribution lines that enable coal to be turned into electricity and brought to each individual customer in the United States. The grid is a very complex instrument. We have different grid operators. In West Virginia, our grid operator is called PJM.
What's it going to take to really, for people to understand, especially here in West Virginia, you're talking to them right now, that the grid and what West Virginia contributes to it, not only here in the state, but across the Northeast?
Sure. I mean, we are the number 4 in the country on the amount of net electricity we put in the grid. I mean, Pennsylvania is the only one near us that comes close to the amount of electricity we put in the grid. We are a significant player. We really need to be at the table when decisions are made about coal and our electric sector.
Well, right now we have lost in the state of West Virginia more than 3,000 jobs. I attribute that in large part due to the EPA's overreach and the unwillingness of this administration to work with the industry and the state of West Virginia to employ these people.
As a coal miner, former coal miner, somebody that's talking to them all the time. Roger, why are the crosshairs of the Obama administration flat on the coal industry, especially here in the Appalachian region?
Okay, if you look at the Appalachian region itself, I can explain that as best I possibly can, and I hope the public can understand this as well. During the first and second stages of the Clean Air Act, back in the early 90s, you had then a Senator Obama who was losing miners to a mass exodus because of the high sulfur regions that his area coal contained. They were exiting and coming to places like West Virginia, and we were having a steady ingrowth of people coming to mine what was now known and is now known as compliance coal. Well, during his tenure in office as president, these power companies have been somehow miraculously been given the ability, or whoever has given them the ability to install the scrubbers. That coal is now in compliance and can be used. And our share of the market has dropped significantly due to not only that, but also other contributing factors such as overreach from the other regulatory agencies, prohibitive cost, and we already face challenge as far as our geography is concerned. And you compound all that to the things that I've just espoused, you'll see that that's the story that needs to be told.
One final question, Roger. What is the sentiment among mining families in this area, in your area, about the loss of jobs in the industry? And do they think the jobs will ever come back?
Some are absolutely positive that they will never come back. Some have sold their homes, some have left, some are bewildered. Very, very few think that will ever come back. I think they will eventually. I think they're going to get some common sense people in the White House. I think we'll get some common sense people in the Senate and in the Congress who understand coal's vital role to the national security of this country. And I think that will occur, but a lot of people are scared. They're scared to death.
One of the bills that you made sure saw the light of day in the halls of the State House was House Bill 4346. First off, describe what that bill is and then just how important it is.
Well, first of all, it's to try to keep our coal-fired power plants up and going, to let the state set the carbon emission level themselves. I think the EPA is overreaching, shutting down the power plants, and in return, our citizens of West Virginia is going to end up paying a lot higher cost for energy.
How much work went into this bill? How much lobbying did you have to do with your constituents? Not your constituents, but your fellow lawmakers.
I wore out a pair of shoes. At first, a lot of people didn't think it'd have a chance. Matter of fact, one of the co-sponsors on there with me, he said, "Sure, Rupee, I'll sign it, but it ain't got a snowball." But you know what? I don't give up. When Coal Association brings me a bill, they explain it to me, they give me, and they join me, and we just fight it together. And many trips to the majority leader's office, the speaker's office, and Tim Manchin, Chairman Manchin's office. I'm working his committee, so it's a lot of work.
What did it mean for you, for your constituents, that you have to answer to see the governor sign that bill today?
Show them that I am fighting for coal. I've said from the day one that I swore in office that I'd fight for coal, and I'm fighting for coal is jobs. I'm not fighting for the company. I'm fighting for the coal miner. I'm fighting for the use of coal. We've got it. We just can't mine it, lay it on the ground. We've got to have an end user. Power plants are end users.
Final question. I'm putting it right down Broadway for you. Just how important is coal to your constituents?
Not only to my constituents, but to me. My job depends on coal. I'm a salesman. I sell to almost every coal company in the